Great. So we are being live streamed, and I'll just share the live stream link.
Yeah.
Great. It's gone live. So it's being shared as well. And we have, I think, quite a few members from the XCX, XMS departments, as well as a few joined in here. And I'm sure that, as the webinar sort of gets going, more will join in. So with that, Pasha, I think we can go ahead in that case.
Yep.
You're ready? Wonderful.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining in, Pasha. And it's absolutely a privilege to have you here, wherein we'll be talking about different aspects of the Institute of Risk Management, as well as this wonderful program, that's being conducted by the IRM in the field of enterprise risk management. So for those who are uninitiated and those who've just joined in, the IRM is actually an international body headquartered in the UK, and it happens to be one of the world's leaders in enterprise risk management qualifications and examinations. And it's akin to a lot of the other organizations that conduct so many examinations worldwide, be it in accountancy and finance and all of that. And I think with the recent times and the recent things that have happened in the world, with especially COVID coming in, with things becoming so uncertain, managing risk is something that we're all really hoping to, do so much better going forward. So a little bit of a background of Kausha, she actually has, she's an advocate registered with the Bar Council of India, and a graduate from the Government Law College, Mumbai, which is one of the oldest law schools in Asia. She specializes in the practice of real estate law at a leading law school in Asia, and has been someone who's been with IRM for quite some time. And in fact, she's even herself qualified a level 2 qualification of the IRM's qualification. So I think that leads your designation to become an IRM cert. If
right.
That's correct. Wonderful. And during a career in law, Kausha has actually assisted a senior professor in the preparation and revision of 3 core law textbooks used by students across India for their law study preparation. So quite a bit of work in the academic space as well. Very nice.
Right. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And Kausha has also completed 8 grades of the Trinity School of London's speech and drama examination. I think that's a very, very interesting tidbit as well. So Kausha, I mean, really, really glad to have you. And to start things off, I think let's take it forward by you telling us a little bit more about IRM. What is it that the organization does, and how is it that they could help all of us who've joined in to this conversation now?
Absolutely. So basically, the Institute of Risk Management, it's a professional body, like Michael just mentioned, headquartered in London, and we're present in 140 countries across the globe. So we're not a school, we're not a university, it's not a coaching class, it's a professional body. Just like Michael said, you have various professional bodies dealing in different subjects. Say you have your ICAI, who's dealing with your CA exams. You have the CFA, which is dealing with the CFA exams. Similarly, IRM is a professional body which is the world leader in enterprise risk management qualifications and examinations. Now, we've been there since the past 30 years. And coming to basically the subject of, what exactly is enterprise risk and how it's different from your traditional risk management. So, like my audience today will agree that, anyone, whenever anyone's asked a question about what exactly is risk, the first thing that comes to your mind is risk is related to finance or insurance. Or say someone asks you, are you, have you covered yourself, with the risks that are going to be there? And, the most common question or the most common answer that comes to your mind is, yes, I've insured myself, damages are covered.
Right.
So traditionally, risk was always limited to the scope of finance and insurance. But, with the events like the financial crisis, COVID-19, multiple corporate failures, it has come to the forefront that you can't limit risk to being only finance and insurance related. For example, all my students today here will agree that, say, for when the pandemic hit, COVID has not decided that it's going to only affect the finance of an organization or a corporation. Everyone, right from a street vendor to a multinational company to a startup owner to a family businessman, everyone has been equally affected, right? So that's where the term enterprise risk management comes in. It's a holistic discipline which looks at managing all kinds of risks, including financial risk, but across the enterprise. So it's across all departments and all verticals of any organization. So, in a simple nutshell, I would say enterprise risk management is looking at managing risk across your entire organization. Now, this organization, it could be a startup that you own. Say, for example, Michael is the owner of a startup company, and he's looking at, applying enterprise risk to his startup. Say, for example, Aditya, who is here today, he is a next gen family business owner. He's looking to apply enterprise risk management to his family business. And say, for example, we have Ankita, who is looking to sort of work at an MNC, not necessarily in the risk department, but say she wants to work in the supply chain or the purchase department. Now, enterprise risk management, since it's not restricted to finance and insurance, it's about how you manage risk in your department. So how Ankita is going to use enterprise risk management to manage the risks which are affecting her particular department. So again, it's a holistic discipline which is looking at covering risks across your entire enterprise.
So, just to sort of reiterate and bring out something that's important, and please correct me if I go wrong over here.
Sure.
Enterprise risk management isn't necessarily or isn't at all only associated with finance and let's say with insurance and the risk management sector, per se, as we talk about it. This
Absolutely.
is about covering risk across a variety of companies or a variety of verticals across a specific company.
Correct.
I think one question.
So again, clarifying, it's not basically covering different types of risks. It's basically what ERM, the qualification that we have here. We have two standards, international standards. They are called the ISO 31000 and the COSO framework. So these standards or frameworks, they lay down certain principles that you can apply to any organization, be it your startup, be it your family business, or the department of a company that you're owning, and sort of mitigate or reduce the impact of an uncertain event on your organization. So here, when I use the word uncertain event, I relate it to the word risk. What is risk? It's any uncertainty which is beyond our control, right? So how do you sort of work in lines with, these frameworks to sort of reduce the impact of this risk on your organization? And yes, of course, that has nothing to do with finance or insurance. It's looking at managing risk holistically across your enterprise.
Very, very nice and very interesting. Could you, Kaustubh, give maybe some examples of specific industries or areas where, the risk is certainly high enough to warrant more demand for, say, somebody who has this kind of a background, please?
Yes. So, you know what, Michael, basically, and all the audience here today, risk management is basically to do with, the skill that a risk analyst or say somebody who's working in the risk department has to do. So good risk management professional does require analytical thinking skills, problem solving skills, 360 degree, problem solving skills, as I mentioned. And these are the skills that are required by anyone and everyone today. So what sort of conflict that you always observe in every company today is people think that the job of risk management is only in the hands of a CRO. Now, CRO is the Chief Risk Officer. Right. But I'd like to share very interestingly that risk management today is everyone's job, right? Right from your junior level intern to the most senior CRO. Ultimately, if you are not able to manage risk at your level in your department, it's going to mount up to a huge amount of loss, which the CRO will have to face, single-handedly. So that's why we say that risk management today is everyone's job, and with the qualifications that IRM has, it's more focused on the skill that you develop in applying the risk management to your organization. Now, you don't necessarily have to become a risk manager or a chief risk officer to study this qualification. Anything that you're doing today, see, for example, I am working into academics. Say we had our last all India ranker who is the chief marketing officer of an organization. Now you see, anything that you're doing and from any background that you're coming in, you can study the subject to apply it to your area of interest, because ultimately everything and anything today, you need to manage risk across every organization.
All right. So a person can be from a marketing background, a person can be from a finance background, or something altogether unrelated to, let's say, core business.
Absolutely. So coming to that, you do not need any, there is now to pursue IRM's qualifications, there is no prior qualification, there is no prior skill that is required other than basic logic and business skill, because the curriculum focuses more on qualitative risk management. So after you have finished your 12th standard, say for example, you're doing a BCom, you're doing a BMS, you're doing a BFM, you can pursue IRM's qualification side by side along with your graduation, and without having to leave your main degree. So that's a very good thing, that you can side by side focus on graduation and work on taking up this value add qualification to sort of boost your career. Now, in terms of, do you particularly need any, like you said, do you need a finance skill, or do you need to know math, or do you need to know accounting to take up the qualification? Absolutely not. Like you mentioned, you do not need any criteria. There is no other criteria required. Also, for all the students here who are also not very number friendly, the entire curriculum or the syllabus has no numbers. You are not required to have any accounting skills. There is no math involved. You're studying qualitative risk management. So we have students even who are doing marketing, who are startup owners, wanting to be next gen family business owners. You can do marketing, you can be in an FMCG sector. Recently, we had somebody from the Indian Air Force who has taken up the exam. We have a lot of veterans, people from the shipping industry. Why? Because enterprise risk is, again, as I mentioned, holistically applicable to anything you do.
All right. So, I mean, that's really, really very nice to know. And there's so much of variety for sure.
Absolutely.
In terms of, how candidates from different backgrounds, from different areas can, go on to pursue this kind of designation. I was also going through the website, and a couple of things that crossed my mind were, one is that there were 5 levels over here. And the second also was certain other examinations, like for example, a lot of students over here might be aware of the CFA examination. Correct. So that kind of an exam requires you to be in the final year of your education. So Correct. On both these sides, I mean, are there prerequisites in terms of, let's say, if somebody suppose finishes class 12 and hasn't yet joined the bachelor's, is that person also able to do something like this? Absolutely. And secondly, what are the levels? Do certain levels have a prerequisite? If it's not maybe the first level or so, then do later levels have a prerequisite? You could just shed some light on that.
Sure. So as I mentioned, the basic eligibility is once you have cleared your 12th standard, you can take up the qualification. If you've not yet started your bachelor degree, say because of COVID, things are running late or some sort of reason, as long as you have your 12th pass certificate, you can, take up the qualification. But, sooner or later, within 2 to 6 months, you should be actually pursuing your graduation degree. So for the level 1, a 12th pass pursuing graduation can take up the examination. Now, what exactly is the level 1? I'll go step by step and elaborate each level in really like a nutshell so that it's a little clear for the students as well. So the level 1 is called the fundamentals of risk management or enterprise risk management. It's your foundation level, basically laying a foundation for you to understand the subject. Since I mentioned candidates are coming from BFM, BMS, BSc, arts, humanity, HR, all sorts of backgrounds. Here at level 1, the foundation is laid for students whether coming from any different sector. Now, the qualification or the examination for level 1 happens only 4 times a year. It's February, May, August, and November. The exam is completely online, which basically means students, you don't need to travel to any center, and it's not become online because of COVID. The entire qualification, like you see when I take you through the next levels, it's remotely done without you having to travel to any, city, country, and, doing it at the comfort of your graduation, post-graduation, or your work. So the level 1 is only for 2 months. Once you choose whichever attempt you want to appear for, everything that's required for you to prepare for the exam is also provided by the institute itself, which means you do not need to go seek any extra help when it comes to coaching or purchase any books, because everything is provided by the institute. Another very important thing is, just before the exam, we have access to live study sessions. Now, these are not pre-recorded lectures by trainers. There is actually a risk expert who's going to be going live with you, just like Michael and I are live right now. He or she is going to be taking you through the entire level 1, but in the form of practical case studies and examples. So it's not like a theory class. You're actually going to be learning how to apply, risk to the different situations. So say, for example, you will be designated as the CEO, someone else is designated as, a supply chain manager at China. Situations are given to you all, and you all are taught how to apply the principles. Ultimately, it's the practical implementation which is going to give you confidence and give you clarity on understanding the subject. So that's your level 1. Post you clear the level 1, which is in around 2 months time, you get a certificate from London itself stating that you are a level 1 qualified student. Post this, you have access to level 2. Now, when it comes to level 2, again, there's no difference in eligibility criteria. You need to have finished level 1 and you could be pursuing your graduation. So the level 2 is for around 6 months and happening twice a year. Here you're now going in depth of the subject. So it's in June and in November. Now, very importantly, the level 2 examination, once you complete the exam, again, when it comes to preparing for the exam, the entire support, books, everything is provided by the institute. It's more of self-study, but with full support from international trainers as well. Now, for the examination of level 2, we have 360 exam centers all over India. So like the level 1 is online, for level 2, you actually have to go to a center. So 360 exam centers in India, and we have 5,000 centers across the world. So say, for example, Aditya is studying his level 1 here in Mumbai. He plans to go to Canada to do his master's. He can be, giving his level 2, IRM level 2, even from Canada. So the best part here is, since this qualification is globally recognized in 140 countries across the globe, you have that sort of recognition and validity, all throughout. So that's your level 2. Now, very importantly, after level 2, every level after a level 2, candidates start earning a professional designation. Now, I'm sure both of us know, but for the ease of other candidates, a professional designation is like a charter or a title that you earn post you complete a particular qualification, certifying that, you have successfully completed this. Very easy example, I would say, for example, a doctor today, he's allowed to use the title DR. So say if Michael was a doctor, obviously his name today would be Dr. Michael Wharton, right? Similarly here, as you climb up the ladder post level 2, you get these designations. So the level 2 designation is called IRM Cert. So IRM is, Institute of Risk Management. Cert is a short form for certified.
And these levels, are they allowed to use them publicly, let's say on a visiting card or on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So, if you go on LinkedIn, all of you, you can just type the words on your LinkedIn search box. Just type these words IRM CERT. I'm not sure if I have the rights to, write something in the chat box, Michael.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah, let me just check. Sorry about that. So basically, you could sort of use these designations, and in fact, it's, globally recognized all over the world. So you will see when you write IRM Cert, there are people from Kenya, Nigeria, Australia, all over India and across the globe who is doing it, right? So this is sort of giving you that recognition, even helping you in terms of, working at different places. So that is the level 2 examination. It's set at a degree level, which basically means that, for example, you are doing your BCom and you take up level 2 side by side. So see, you're not just among 1,000 of your peers who is just studying a BCom. You have an international qualification, backed up, and you can then call yourself a BCom plus IRM Cert. So this is, basically the level 2 qualification. Now, after the level 2, there are no exams. So the entire qualification is practically based. Now, just one step before this, I'd like to just clarify that, for anybody who today who's listening here might be thinking, is it necessary for me to do all the levels? For example, if you can't call yourself, just because CA is something which is very well recognized and, people have heard about it. You can't call yourself a CA if you've not finished the 3 levels, right? You need to finish the 3 levels to earn your charter. Now, in our case, we have 2 kinds of people who take up this qualification ideally. Number 1, someone who obviously wants to, ultimately become a chief risk officer. And then there are people, as I mentioned, who are coming from various backgrounds, who want to just study risk to a point that they can apply it to their department. So the qualification is very, very flexible. I mean, you don't need to finish the 5 levels if you're not ultimately looking to become a risk professional. So say most 99% of people take up at least 2 to 3 levels, because level 1 is just your starter. I mean, it's the foundation level. So if you're not looking to ultimately work in the risk sector, you can do up to 3 levels or more in case you actually decide to shift post that. So level 3 is basically for 12 months and it's like a master's degree. So it's again to be pursued from India. You don't need to travel anywhere. In terms of the eligibility, you need to have finished level 2, plus you need to have finished graduation. So if you are a BCom student or a BMS student who has finished 2 levels within your 2 years of BCom, wait till you graduate and then you can apply for a level 3. So the level 3 is completely based on assignments, there are research papers, and your final assessment, there is no exam. You need to submit a research paper or a dissertation. So that's where you earn the level 3 designation. It then gets upgraded to grad IRM. So that is GRAD IRM. So I'll just post the different designations on the chat box. So this is for the level 2, which is IRM cert.
I would encourage, in fact, the participants, as Kausha just mentioned, take the time, go to LinkedIn, type in IRM cert. You'll see the kind of people who have these certifications. You see the backgrounds that they have, the kind of positions that they hold, and Correct. It will give you a good indication of what kind of individuals are actually taking up these certifications going forward.
Absolutely. And in case I can share my screen, maybe I think my screen is visible.
Yes.
So in case you just type IRM cert, the designation that I mentioned, and hit the search bar, you will see we have our candidates across. So say we have Animesh, he's a student from India who's now working at Accenture in the strategy and consulting department. So see, you don't necessarily have to be in the risk sector for studying this subject, because it's applicable and ultimately it's to do with your business continuity, your decision making and problem solving skills, which is applicable universally to anything that you do. So we have Mr. Mayur, who's a director at Deloitte. See, you have somebody from Moscow, right? Keep seeing the locations also, so that you know that this has been, we have people across the globe who are doing this.
Right. Lot of people from outside.
India. So we are seeing someone from Maldives who is an ERM consultant, at her own organization. So y'all can keep scrolling and looking at that. Similarly, as you go ahead, say for example, you have grad IRM. So we have somebody from Mumbai who is, the risk, who is actually into the risk department, somebody from Kolkata, Romania, Hong Kong, UK, Kenya, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all across. So you can keep scrolling, put these designations in and as you see, your name will be attached to this designation. So even like you see, I have also qualified for 2 of my levels. So I also have the right to call myself Kausha, IRM cert. So that's where, these designations are going to give you that sort of a recognition. Post level 3, you have a level 4, level 5. Again, only candidates who are actually looking to work in the risk sector can go up to a level 4, level 5. So there you need work experience, which is going to be a mandate. So after a level 3, you need to have 3 years of work experience to be able to give the level 4. Level 4 and level 5 are just your membership levels. They are based they're actually testing your work experience in the risk sector, right? So it's like a 15-day interview session with a global panel in London, and you then get your designation. So the level 4, it's called CMIRM, the designation that you earn. You become a certified member, and then you have level 5, which is the highest level that a candidate can earn, and that is the certified fellowship. So very recently, Mr. Jitender Arora, he is the managing director at State Street. He had got conferred the level 5, which is the fellowship, certified fellow of the Institute of Risk Management.
Out of curiosity, how many members would be certified fellows, say across India or across the world?
Right. So, Michael, since what happens is, since the qualification is universally applicable to candidates across, the number, first of all, I mean, looking at, we have certain GDPR restrictions and rules. So number is not something that I can disclose in public, but just to sort of give a heads up to, the people who are listening to us, it's not about the number, because everyone who's studying the qualification is coming for a different reason. Not everyone is looking to be a CRO. Not everyone is looking to work in the risk sector. People are studying this to apply it to different segments, right? So across the globe in 140 countries, you will see universally there are level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, and level 5s.
Understood. Okay, so like a fair number. Is there a restriction on by the institute on the number of individuals they would want to have in, say, level 4 or level, like a cap, maybe 10% maximum would be in level 5 or anything of that sort?
Absolutely not. No,
okay.
We don't have any sort of those restrictions.
Okay, that's great. And just a quick question on the exam centers.
Yeah.
So once a person, let's say, gives an exam, and you said that it's recognized in any part of the world. So if I give the examination in Canada, then would that recognition hold across the globe as well? I mean, it's all the same.
Yes, absolutely. So another very good part here is that anywhere in the world that you are and you're pursuing this qualification, if you need to shift base or move to another country to continue your career or work, or you settle there, you do not need to give any additional exam to be recognized in the country, because this is globally recognized in 140 countries. For example, CAs are recognized in India. To go to London, you all are giving an ACCA. For America, you're giving a CPA. That's a precursor to be practiced. Say, for example, even law. I may be an advocate here in India, but if I'm going to a Canada or a UK to practice law, I need to, study the law there to be recognized. Similarly, conversely, in IRM's case, what happens is this is globally recognized in 140 countries. So you do not need to give any additional exam to be recognized there. The qualification, the designation is recognized across the globe through and through.
Okay. And in terms of the examination that's conducted, is there any validity? Like if somebody gives one of these, is it valid for a certain number of years? Do we need to re-give it at a later stage?
So I think this is a very good question, because there is no validity of the qualification in terms that the validity is lifetime. There's no limit to, say, for example, you do a level 1 today. You necessarily don't need to do level 2 immediately. You can take level 2 even after a gap of 4 to 5 years. So the qualification is valid for lifetime. So even if, say, I've done 2 levels today, for me right now, I'm thinking, I'm deciding whether I need to do the level 3 or not. I can take a break of 4 to 5 years even, and then continue level 3 after a gap of these 5 years. So it's valid throughout lifetime, and you don't need, there's no time restriction, that within 3 years you need to finish all the levels, or within 3 years you need to do 2 levels to be able to do level 3. So the combination is very, very flexible, and you can take as many levels as you want and up to your comfort.
Understood. That's I think really useful to know, and that gives a lot of value add, because normally individuals are juggling careers, they're doing different things together. So you can take this as an opportunity, as an upskilling.
I also feel like there's no pressure on the student, It is possible that somebody who is in the second year of his BCom or a BMS is really not sure today about what he wants to ultimately, do in his life.
Right.
So I'm not saying this is a trial and error, but this will give you more clarity, because there's no pressure on your head that within 2 years I need to take up, something and finish it off. So rather, this is adding, so I would say there is flexibility in two ways. Number one, for the number of years, you can take it when you want. And number two, there's no restriction that after you study this, you have to work in the risk department. So we
Right.
have our qualified alumni who are working in the pharma sector, who are working
Mhm.
in the Indian Air Force, in the Navy, in the shipping background, marketing, heading HRs of different companies, working in the risk sectors, but not necessarily of finance or other institutions of banks. They are working in risk sectors of FMCG. We had somebody from pharma sector who took up this, and he's now heading risk in the pharma sector. So your option is not restricted to working in a financial institution or an insurance based company. After taking this up, you can sort of divulge into any segment or any organization that you want.
Okay. I think something that might be on certain students' minds, because whenever they're investing any amount of time and energy into a program, they're obviously doing it from a career perspective.
Absolutely.
So is there any kind of career support or a career services that they could reach out to, or maybe even if it's an alumni or a community based support system through
Yeah.
which they could find opportunities in risk management by doing one of these programs?
Absolutely. So very glad to share with all our alumni, I mean, all our candidates here today, that once you finish the level 1 examination here, you
Mhm.
get added to the IRM alumni group, where you will be added to a pool of people who had, doing risk management, who are studying the IRM qualifications in India. Now, as such, of course, we are not a placement or a recruiting body. We are an educational professional body. However, looking at the demand for risk qualified professionals across organizations today,
Mhm.
we do help organizations to meet the demand, and we are more than happy to assist our alumni in sort of basically connecting our alumni to these organizations. So a lot of companies day in and day out today, we have most of the big fours, we have job offers running even today. KPMG, Deloitte, all of these companies and other consultancy and risk firms who are coming to us to sort of understand, what has traditionally happened is not many people have formally studied risk as a subject. The current people who are working in risk sectors of companies, they're not necessarily qualified risk professionals. They may be doing accountancy, CA, CFA, etc., or any other MBA that they're pursuing, and they're trained for risk management on ground at the organization itself. So here you already have a sort of a up notch here, because you have formally studied risk as a subject. So what we do is we do offer alumni assistance. Of course, there's no job guarantee of sorts, but
Right.
we sort of are helping companies also meet that demand for qualified risk professionals. So even if all of you, you'll go on LinkedIn and just type the words risk, and look up the jobs, you will see there are more than 30,000 job openings even today. So the
Mhm.
pandemic has sort of awakened people. It's like a wake up call that without a risk management professional, he or she is going to be the backbone of the survival of your company. So we do have alumni assistants, and candidates can be sort of connected to organizations who are looking for people with risk background.
It's really nice to know. Would it be possible to, get any kind of understanding through any form of data, if it's possible? Is there like a ballpark average salary amount, or, maybe if there's any kind of data that could be shared, that would
Sure.
really
So in
inspire.
terms of average salary, this is all based on market research and various
Right.
pay scale and Glassdoor, all of these sort of
Mhm.
average salary softwares. Candidates can also look them up. Today, if you see, there is an article also in the Bloomberg which says the chief risk officer is the highest paying job, earning a salary of 75 lakhs to 3 crore annually. So
Mhm.
that's how much a chief risk officer earns. When it comes to your starter level salaries for risk analysts, they can range from 51,000 to up to 10 lakh per annum. And then as you move across the ladder, so say for example, you have taken up, you are a fresher, studied BCom, have completed, say, an IRM level 1, an average salary of around 5 to 5.5, 6 lakh is where
Right.
the organizations are offering. Say freshers with an IRM level 2, because at level 2, you're studying the subject in depth, plus you have a designation attached. So somewhere between 6 to 8 lakhs. And then, as in when you have experience. So say I am a BCom student with 5 years of experience, your salary will then be counted on the experience that you have. But this is around the ballpark figure. Now, when you're looking at an ROI, if you see the fees that have been mentioned on our website, for a level 2 graduate, the amount of investment that you're making, in case you're getting that sort of a job, in the risk sector, you're covering it within a year itself. So this comes up to the point that you are taking up an international qualification at the comfort of your house without having to spend a hefty amount that you would otherwise spend on an international qualification abroad, around 50 to 60 lakh, but getting that necessary skill to use in any organization and any department.
That's wonderful to know. I think it gives a lot of data point in that sense for any candidate who's a BCom, BBA graduate to understand how this particular program could help you go to places. And even if somebody is not, I think, wanting to get into the risk sector per se, at least exploring it as an add-on,
Yes.
as another option, because it's commonly said that if you're doing a BCom or a BBA degree, then having something alongside in terms of skill upgradation, in terms of doing something that's more practical oriented and more, I would say, problem solving oriented is always good to have.
Absolutely.
So that's
and employers today, like I would talk out of experience because we have companies reaching out to us day in and day out. They are not looking for candidates who have just studied a BCom or just done a BMS or a BFM. What is it in you that you are distinguished among your peers who are studying this sort of a degree? So here, by taking up a value add qualification, you are also upskilling yourself and also making yourself more job ready, and that's what is required today.
Sounds great. Kausha, I think we've covered off a lot of the details, on the course. Is there any kind of advice that you would want to give, anybody, or any thoughts to somebody who's considering this program or just at that stage of life in general?
Right. So like I reiterated throughout the session, don't be afraid, to start anything new, or, don't be afraid that, you still don't have a career plan, because when it comes to the subject of risk, especially, and enterprise risk, especially, it is going to help you to sort of look at things holistically and from a 360-degree angle. And, risk is in demand today. Look up, your various channels, go up on YouTube, your news articles, and you see, the demand for risk professionals or risk qualified candidates has gone up triple X. I'd like to just share, my screen to show a small video, which is sort of taking the candidates through what exactly is enterprise risk management, everything that I've already covered, but, in a more like an animated form, so just a second. Yeah, my screen's visible, right?
Change. It's constant. It's challenging. And navigating through change requires a great deal of resilience. Being proactive instead of reactive. Minimizing losses and maximizing returns. Making quick yet analytical decisions. A decade ago, these were handled by insurance brokers and risk managers using traditional strategies with limited budgets. But today, risk management is not just restricted to insurance and finance. It has evolved into enterprise risk management, which covers enhanced decision-making skills necessary to navigate through risks and challenges across departments. Previously, companies have survived crisis because their CEOs and risk managers work strategically together, thus heightening corporate and regulatory attention towards ERM. The focus is now on responses instead of reactions. Australia, USA, Singapore, the UK, Brazil, Mexico, and now India all have mandates that enforce risk committees at board levels. Yet why have so many companies not integrated ERM into their structures? Because ERM is not a cookie-cutter approach. With IRM's global leading qualifications from level 1 to level 5, you can align your career with the world's demands, assess risks from a 360-degree perspective, adopt ERM into your organization, associate with a network of qualified professionals, business leaders, and chief risk officers. Get qualified with IRM's global qualifications today.
Yes. I hope the sound was audible.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
I think that was very, very
So when it
informative.
comes to a mandate, I forgot to mention that the Companies Act 2013, it has laid down that it is mandatory for these 500 companies to have risk management committees in place. SEBI has also released a notification that they're planning to extend this mandate to the top 1,000 listed companies and now even unlisted companies. So you see, the law has mandated it, and there is, a massive demand for risk educated and I would say risk intelligent professionals.
Right. That's wonderful, Pasha. I think, a lot of perspective, a lot of growth, and a lot of opportunity in the area of managing and mitigating risk in the future.
Right.
And the way things have been moving, I'm sure it's going to keep increasing in terms of requirement, increasing in terms of, the mandate overall all across the globe. Wonderful. It was great to have you, Pasha. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your thoughts on the IRM, on enterprise risk management as a career option, as something can be done alongside a regular BCom or a BBA degree, and something that can be pursued to help individuals get the right kind of upskilling. So if anybody has queries, you can of course reach out to Kausha. You can reach out to me.
So thank you so much, Michael, for having me over, and I'm sure the audience is very, very privileged, for having such sort of informative sessions that Michael always arranges. And I was glad that I could contribute to a career in enterprise risk management. You all can sort of reach out to Michael, or also visit our website, and we are happy to help in case you have any other queries or doubts.
Absolutely. All right. It was great catching up, Pasha, and wishing everybody else as well as you a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much. Take care.